Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? Hello, Louisville. Welcome back to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. It's November 11th, and it's Veterans Day. It's a day that we honor and salute our veterans uh, for their service. And today I actually went to Zachary Taylor's cemetery, and last year I found that that's where my grandfather was buried. He's a World War I veteran, so it's only right down the street. So if I didn't go visit his grave today, I think I would be banished from the Carter clan. But today I have it's a special treat, especially for Louisvillians, that we're going to pay tribute and salute our very own um, Dunn family. But first off, we're going to start with the one and the only Colonel Ken Dunn. What's happening, my brother?
Miss Janice Carter Miller, everything's going
Yes,
well. I'm here in Stafford, Virginia.
Stafford,
Uh,
Virginia.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am,
What's
man.
that close to?
Stafford, Virginia is exactly 40 miles south of Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
straight
Okay.
on Interstate 95 going south. And
Okay.
we're 10 miles south of the Quantico Marine Corps base,
Okay.
where I still work. I
Oh,
I'm
okay.
still I'm still I'm still employed by the Marine Corps since I retired from the military.
Okay.
And I work in a manpower organization, and I also teach. So I'm an adjunct faculty member at the Marine Corps University, and I teach a course uh, online right now. So,
What's that? What? Tell me about this course you teach.
well, in 2006, it's all your fault, Mr.
Has
Carter.
it anything to do with Mumford Point Marines?
Yeah, yeah, it's your fault.
Okay.
When the great city of Louisville invited me back in 2006 to speak at the Covenant Hagen's scholarship dinner,
Yes.
2006. I prepared a slideshow for that presentation,
Mm-hmm.
and then you came along and sang before and after, but it piqued my interest in the Montfort Point Marines to the point that I began to really study them,
Okay.
and uh, and as things progressed, and I began to lecture more about Montfort Point, but yours is the first one.
Okay.
Over the years, the university asked me to develop an elective for the Command and Staff College at the university, and they
Mm.
said, and I said, well, if I'm going to develop a course, it's going to be about the Montfort Point Marines. So
Wow.
I developed, and this is 4 years ago. So I'm in my fourth iteration of teaching the course, and the name of the course is Marine Corps Great Leaders, Montfort Point Forward. And what we do is we analyze the segregation and integration of the Marine Corps, from the Revolutionary War right on through, and when they integrated in 1941 and 1942,
Mm-hmm.
which your stepfather was a proud member
Right.
of having served at Montfort Point or trained there. And then what I do, Janice, I take the student from the beginning, the Revolutionary War, where blacks were outlawed in the Marine Corps, from the Revolutionary War all the way up to 1942, and then we analyze Montfort Point. But then we begin to talk about some of the leaders like Sergeant Major Edgar R. Huff and Sergeant Major Hashmart Johnson, who were the first black sergeants major of the Marine Corps. And I take the students all the way through, and then we begin to study the other staff non-commissioned officers and general officers, as well as other officers that have served in the Marine Corps, that is, the African Americans. and we bring them right on up to today. So
Okay.
that's the name of my course. And right now in my course, it's a 10 lesson course, so that's that's 8 to 10 weeks. And right now my students are they're just completing the final essays on for the course. So I just give you the some of the leaders that they're picking out: Lieutenant General Frank Peterson, Major General Jerome Cooper. Um, then we have Sergeant Major John Canley, who just was awarded the Medal of Honor here 2 years ago for his service in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Major General Charles Bolden, our first black astronaut
Okay.
from the Marine Corps. So that's the name of the course. Uh, I really enjoyed teaching it. You know,
Okay.
I developed it. I asked all the questions, and I put whatever slant I want to on it. Uh,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but that's really a result of all the things that Louisville has done in my nurturing and upbringing and background. You know, my mother's civil activism, uh,
Wow.
all those things that happened in Louisville rubbed off on me. And now, as as a college professor, I'm able to shape those things and teach people about it. Yes, ma'am.
I want to say this. If for those of you that don't know, when Ken makes reference to his mother is the one and the only Fran Dunn Thomas. Uh, my association, my connection with the Dunns is these were the first probably friends that I ever had in my life because they were my next door neighbors in Beach Terrace.
Mhm.
And I've been having some moments of reminiscing about different people. I interviewed Senator Neal
Mm,
last week, and
right.
that he too was born in Beach Terrace.
Wow.
And thinking about all the people that have come out of Beach Terrace,
Yes, ma'am.
which is now no more, but that legacy of that community, because that was truly a village that we grew up in.
It was. Yes, ma'am.
Wasn't it a village?
It was.
And like I said, I tell the story about your mom saving me and keeping my house from burning down because I set it on fire. And uh, Miss Francis came and I said, "Would you please come?" I said, "My bathroom's on fire. Could you please come put it out?" And she came over and hysterically she took the buckets and put the fire out.
Wow.
But Ken, you went to West Point
No, ma'am. I went to the Naval Academy.
Naval Academy. Okay,
Ma'am, I
West
went to
Point is what?
West Point is the each one of the services has a military academy.
That's their okay.
The Army's military academy is West Point.
It's West Point. Oh, so you went to the
The
Naval Academy.
Yeah, the
So
Naval
what was it like for you? So you went into the Naval Academy what year?
1970.
So what was that like for you? As far in terms of, say, uh, the racial uh, situation.
Well, the having grown up in Louisville, and as a youngster, it was segregated Louisville. Then Louisville gradually integrated. I recall riding on the backs of buses with mom. Miss Francis taking Keith and I to a nursery school across town. I'm not even sure what that nursery school is.
Right.
We rode the bus to get there.
Okay.
We rode in the backs of the bus to get to
Oh, you talking about you rode a city bus
a
going
city.
to the school? Okay. Okay. But
And,
you rode in the back of the city
yes,
bus.
ma'am. And then we recall not being able to go to certain stores on Fourth Street and going to when we went to the movie theaters. We went in the attic, or excuse me, the upper
The balcony.
balcony. Yes. So remember, and then going to St. Augustine, which was all black Catholic school, and our interaction with the other Catholic schools in the Louisville parish,
Okay.
most of them were all white, except maybe Christ the King and the other school at in Carter Homes. but all the other parishes were white. So when we would come in there to play basketball or football, we competed against uh, white kids.
Right.
That was our first exposure. But one of the other exposures I had, my first one exposure to integrated schools was in coming out of sixth grade. They took a handful of students from St. Augustine and they sent us to summer school out at St. Agnes, which is next to Bellarmine College. I think the St. Agnes must be the wealthiest parish in Louisville. And
Mm-hmm.
I catch that bus at 10th and Chestnut, all right,
Okay.
Trevilian Way, and it would take us on through downtown, heading out on Newburgh Road, and then deposit us at St. Agnes. And I went there for summer school for 6 weeks after my sixth grade year. And that was the first time I ever attended school with white children. And they were all virtually wealthy. And of course, I'm come from Beecher Terrace where my mom had bought me my summer uniform from J.C. Penney, which was two pair of Bermuda shorts and two polo shirts.
Okay.
And
The things we remember, huh?
yes, ma'am. And that was my uniform.
Okay.
The
Okay.
other kids on the other
Well,
kids,
you were gonna be ready now. You had to have your uniform.
yes, ma'am. But the thing about it was, the other kids were teasing me about wearing the same clothes. Not the white kids, the other black kids from St. Augustine.
Okay.
Three other guys from upper class, Billy Cummins and those guys. And they were teasing me about wearing the same clothes every day because they had gotten on the bus further west going east. And
Okay.
I was the last student to get on. So, and they were in the back of the bus. Yeah, hey, Dunn, when you gonna change your clothes? So the best thing about that though, Miss Janice, was you had a lot of domestic workers on that bus.
On the bus.
A lot
Okay.
of the ladies who cleaned houses in the East End, that part of town. And this lady
Mm-hmm.
told me something I never forget. She said, son, he said, don't you pay those other guys any mind from the clothes that you wear. He says, because every day you get on that bus, your clothes are clean and they're neat. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to worry about a thing. Hey, Miss
Yeah.
Janice, I wore my polo shirt and my plaid shorts for the rest of that summer, and they were
Proudly.
absolutely. And of course, it all comes from Miss Francis. She made sure that we were squared away when we get out of the house. So.
Yeah.
But in 1970, after growing up in Louisville, and then when Mom married Staff Sergeant Thomas, we moved to the West End, St. Benedict.
Okay.
I joined I've had the good fortune to join the Boys Club, and I played on that 12 and under
Where's
football.
Saint Benedict?
St. Benedict was on 26 and Osage.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Oh, right.
Right.
Ooh, Lord, I don't I remember going to St. George's.
Yes, ma'am. But
That's the same. Okay,
same
that's
area.
where we would go when I started going to clubs. That's where you go to party.
Right. But and then St. Benedict's was still had there's
Right.
still white kids there, and we joined the boys club. All of us went to the boys club, and I played on that football team. That was the first time I played organized football was with them, and I was on that team and we won the city championship. So I had this somehow or another that they found me and I played on that team. And then we went from 23rd and Oak to Fort Knox.
Oh, you know what? I remember where you are. You lived upstairs
Right, we did.
on
We
23rd and Oak. Okay.
lived in an apartment above the drugstore.
Okay. Yeah.
Across from Smith's fast food place.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and then we moved to Fort Knox after my stepfather. I'll call him father from now on because that's what he
Yeah.
says. But
Let me say this
mhm,
about how our families keep connecting, because my dad um, was the witness for VT and Miss Fran when they got married.
that's right. You're exactly right. That's right. In 1964, right
Wow.
there, right there in Beecher Terrace.
Wow. Okay. Go on. Woo!
So then, then when Staff Sergeant Thomas returned from Vietnam, Okay, then his first tour, then we moved to Fort Knox.
Okay.
Me, Larry, excuse me, Pam, Larry, Rodney, me, and Keith. We all
Okay. You're mentioning your siblings, so let's see if we can do one this.
okay. About him? Oh, okay.
Hey, what's up? There we have the baby brother,
Yep.
Keith Dunn, because I got the whole Dunn clan. I couldn't just do one. I got the whole Dunn clan. I'm trying to see how many of us can get on here today. Um,
Yeah.
and talking about Keith, I know you heard some of what we were talking about, but
Mm-hmm.
also I know when you moved to Valley Station that uh, the eldest of the Dunns was my first friend. It's Pam,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and Pam
Mm-hmm.
was also in the Army. Am I correct?
In the
Air
Air
Force.
Force.
Air Force. Okay, I didn't
That's
know
right.
which branch,
Yes.
because I came to spend a weekend with Pam, and she had me get on a horse. I told her I was afraid of horses, and she said, "Oh, well, just hold on to the reins, and it won't be a problem. Just get on the horse." Pam was a little
Mm-hmm.
pushy, so I said, "Pam, I'm scared of horses, but I got on this horse, and the horse got away from me.
Uh,
I jumped off the horse,
oh my goodness.
and Miss Francis said she knew that our friendship was on a decline from that because Pam was totally ticked off with me. But I came and spent a weekend out there. That was the only weekend that I came to to Fort Knox
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
to see
Uh-huh.
my friend Pam. Pam was mad at me, and Pam didn't talk to me for a while. She didn't talk to me for a while. But the Dunn family, um, even with VT,
Mm-hmm.
who's when I say VT, I'm speaking of Mr.
Virgil.
Virgil
Virgil.
Thomas,
Mm-hmm.
who is the widower of Fran Thomas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a civil service family.
Mm-hmm.
This is a how would you describe your family? Keith, what would you say?
I'd
What do
say
you call your family? They're what?
that everybody
They're
participating
everybody.
in the armed services except me.
Oh, everybody was in. So Larry
Everybody.
was in the armed services as well.
Oh yeah.
Everybody. Mama. Mama was a nurse at Island Army Hospital and all that.
Oh, I didn't know
Yes.
she was a nurse in the armed
Yeah.
services. I knew she was a nurse.
She
She's a
was.
nurse
She was.
at the hospital at Fort Knox.
Yeah.
Okay, at the hospital. Okay, okay.
Yeah. And stuff like that. So
Oh wow,
everyone participated in the armed services except me.
that's
Yeah.
all right. They
Yeah.
love you anyway. So, Ken, tell me,
Uh,
was there a moment? Did anything happen to you during your training, or your time in the armed services that you knew that there was a problem for blacks that were in the armed services?
it's yes, that's an interesting question because I served. Went to the Naval Academy, and I was one of the first group of larger numbers of black students going to the Naval Academy in 1970 because what had happened was the Navy and the Marine Corps realized that the racial problems that they had out of Vietnam, that the way that they were going to be able to fix those problems was to bring in more black officers. So,
Okay,
they began to recruit and ensure that individuals like me had an opportunity to go to the Naval Academy. Coming out of, we went to Fort Knox, and then when VT went over to Vietnam for a second tour, see,
he
VT was,
did 2 tours in Vietnam.
and listen, VT did Korea and 2 tours in Vietnam.
Whoa!
So he's a soldier.
Oh wow, for sure.
So when he went back for his second tour, that's when we moved to Valley Station. And then from there, I went to the Naval Academy, and I was, as it turns out, checking the records, I was the first I was the first black student from the state of Kentucky to go to the Naval Academy. I didn't realize that until I began to check. I was the first one, so uh,
Wow.
so I went to Annapolis. But I don't think in my heart of hearts, Miss Janice, I don't think that I was affected very much by racism at the Naval Academy. Mostly because I felt that I was qualified. You know, I
To
didn't
be there.
say again.
To be there.
Yes, I felt I was more than qualified to earn an appointment to Annapolis. I was a football player. Uh,
Hmm.
most students that most students that I associated with in my company, I felt like I was just as smart as they were, maybe even smarter. Uh,
Hmm.
so I never had a feeling they were looking down on me, and
Okay.
that's basically as a result of growing up in Louisville and living in Fort Knox, then Valley Station. So it
And
wasn't.
beat your terrorist. So that meant that you could whoop some butt if you had to.
It just I just never felt that I was out of place. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
So and I always said that my time at the Naval Academy was like almost like a racial nirvana. It was good, positive. Basically, as long as you did the work at Annapolis, then you got to pass. I mean,
Okay.
if you weren't willing to do the work, then eventually they would kick you out. But
Okay.
I felt like I was able to do the work and playing football. And then now going into the Marine Corps was different though. All right, so that's where the difference is. I think.
Okay.
Um, the history of the Marine Corps, which I teach. The racial history is that the Marine Corps was very very reluctant to accept black Marines, as your stepfather could attest.
And when you said you were the first black from Kentucky to go to the Naval Academy,
Right.
JT, my stepfather,
Hmm.
was one of the first to go to the Marines from Kentucky.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that because
He actually could not um, sign up in Kentucky. He had to go to Cincinnati.
yeah, I can believe it.
Mm. Mm.
So Marine Corps, but the history of the Marine Corps just said that, and the customs in the Marine Corps, they it took them much longer to integrate than the other services, and
Hmm.
I didn't experience. I don't think I experienced bias and discrimination in the Marine Corps until I was much more senior. As probably lieutenant colonel and colonel. There were things that I couldn't put my finger on
Right.
that didn't make sense. And of course, I published my book.
Okay, let's talk about the book.
Well, the
Yeah.
book is there. It is. But
Okay, Camp Lejeune. Okay,
it's
all
called,
right, because Camp Lejeune,
yeah, it's called.
that's where the Mumford Point Marines train,
That's
correct?
right. That's right. So I published this book in 2015, and it's just a journal. But I do. You can't write a memoir, to be honest with you, as a black serviceman without mentioning race at some point. You just can't. And so those are things I mentioned in my book. But it's not a book about racism in the Marine
Racism
Corps.
per se. Okay.
It's a book about a black lieutenant colonel with a family, you know, uh, a military family, that is from mom and VT and Pam and Larry and Rodney and Keith.
Now, see, I didn't know
Keith is
Rodney was in the military.
well, here's the thing. Now, let's just take a step back, all right? And here it is. You got
Okay.
Virgil Thomas, all right?
Okay.
He's Korea and 2 tours in Vietnam, soldier. Our mother was a civilian nurse at Ireland Army Hospital in Fort Knox, so she was,
Okay.
doing a lot of military types of things. Pamela joined the Air Force the year I graduated from the Naval Academy, and she served 22 years in Air Force.
Wow.
And she retired and lived, came back to Louisville, and then she passed away in 2007. Right? She has
Yes.
a son, Sean, who's retired senior master sergeant of in the Air Force, lives in El Paso. And then Larry was drafted in 1967, so he went to Vietnam,
Okay.
right?
So
And then,
Larry and VT went
yeah,
to Vietnam.
no, yeah, they did. They
Yeah.
did. They did.
Okay.
Then Rodney, when he graduated from Eastern, he was in ROTC, all right, and he came into the Army as a lieutenant, left as a captain. I think Rodney served 6 years in the Army. Okay,
Okay.
so and then there was me, and then like I said, Keith is pseudo military. You know, he's like a commander in chief of everybody.
Well, he runs a pretty tight ship down here in Louisville, Kentucky.
He does. He does.
Yeah. I mean, Keith
Yes,
and I got a lot closer when he was kind of doing the caregiving things with Miss Fran,
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
and I was doing the caregiving with Miss Emily.
Right.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
it's
Right.
it's something about when family say you're my kin folks, not necessarily and my skin folks. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
That it was
Some,
it was just very easy for me to offer what I knew, cause caregiving is not for the faint of heart.
Yes, ma'am.
And Keith and I used to swap stories, cause I know Miss Francis was running him round the corner, and Miss Emily would have me on my knees, in tears. And I think I'm tough,
Yeah.
but Miss Emily would have me on my knees because she wanted to know who
but
died
you
and
was
made me
holding
the
it down. You
president.
was holding it down. You was holding
Huh?
it down. You was
Well,
holding it down.
as best we could,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
they held it down for us. Look who
Mm-hmm.
we've become. Look how proud
Yes.
your mom had to be of all of her sons.
Mm-hmm.
All of you. I mean, my cute dogs. I mean, I'm your whoop whoop Delta sister. You didn't know that, did you, Keith? Huh?
I'm with you. I'm with
I
you.
said, did you know I was a
I'm with you.
Delta?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't hear me.
What about the deltas?
I said,
What
did you
about them?
know I was a Delta?
Did I know you was a delta? Yeah, I knew. You told me.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh, did I?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make that connection there too.
Yes.
So
Yes.
moving on.
Yes. Yeah. You
But
told me. Yeah.
the Dunn family and my family, uh, I saw the other day on Facebook that Larry had. How many of you a friend have had a friend for 50 years?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote on it, or more,
That's
like
right.
you,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So
Mm-hmm.
our families have a very deep connection. Uh, so how do you feel, Keith? Tell me your take on. We're gonna go move towards a little bit of the racist, the what's going in Louisville. Since you're here, how do you feel about the protest? Are we making some moves? I know we just won a gigantic war the other day, but I think we still have some battles to go. I don't
Mhm.
know if I can even call it the war, but I know we have some battles to go uh,
Yeah.
in the healing process of our country, and
Right.
we need to find some solutions to keep so that our black men and women are not just um, their lives are not just snuffed out
Mhm.
because of the color of their skin. We've got to get past that some kind of way, but
Uh,
we can't get past it until we have what the show Guess Who's Coming to Dinner is
right.
supposed to do. Until we address that,
You're
it has to be addressed. We cannot just say, well, I really don't, people used to say, well, I don't talk about religion or politics. Well, we're not going to talk about religion, and we don't have to talk about politics. Let's talk about race. you
mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
just be
Mm-hmm.
real about it, because um we have a problem, and it just didn't start. It just has bubbled over. Anytime the television shows you black men and women dying on TV, that's we've got to move from that.
It's not a
I
sprint.
did ask you a
This is
question,
not a
Keith.
sprint. This is
Huh?
not a sprint. This is not.
No,
This isn't a
no, it's
sprint.
not a sprint.
It's not. It's not a sprint. This is not
Turn
a
your mic up
sprint.
some. I
It's a
can't
long
hear
distance
you
journey.
too well.
Okay, it's a long distance journey, and it's
Okay,
not a sprint. It's just part of it right now, and
right.
it's step by step. And um, obviously, some injustices have been prevailed, have been shown, and then
Hmm.
therefore these young folks ain't taking it. They ain't taking this stuff
No,
no more, you know.
no,
And but we still have to. It's like a wild horse, though. You still gotta keep your reins on it to make sure that they know which way to go, which way to go on the track. You know what I
right,
mean? So
right.
that, that's all it is. It's just not a sprint. This is a journey, and it's one step at a time. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay,
You know,
okay. Well, it
does that make
sure is
sense?
a journey. Well, I was just able to exhale. I
Mm,
felt like,
Mhm.
that all the air had been almost sucked out of the universe from not
Mhm.
knowing from one day to the next what was
Yeah.
happening to my people,
mhm,
what
Hmm.
was happening to the rights that we fought for uh, back in the 60s,
mm,
uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that we're still fighting though for those same rights today because some of them have been rolled back. So on Veterans Day, it would seem that this would be, Ken, maybe you can address this, that this would be a day that um, that we could come together more so as a country because we have um, military service in common.
mhm,
I mean, I don't know how many other countries that have oppressed a race of people that will stand up and fight for that country,
right.
like Black Americans have done um, in the United States.
Right.
How how we can still forgive,
Hmm.
in a sense.
Yeah. I in the military. All right. Um, Particularly speaking as a historian, as an educator,
Okay.
what I've done is I've said, hey, listen, the way that we can begin to understand each other a lot better is through a study of our history.
Right.
I think that you know when you pull the string on why things are the way they are, you can probably go back to a specific time, for instance, in Marine Corps history, where things were not right, but the Marine Corps worked hard to right the ship. For
Okay.
instance, all right,
Okay.
Vietnam, all right,
Okay.
Vietnam. Well, World War II changed everything
Right.
for the world. But it wasn't until Vietnam where you saw significant numbers of black troops on the ground in the Army and in the Marine Corps, in the Air Force, and aboard Navy ships. And, 1967, 1968, 1969, 1970, we had tremendous racial turmoil in the armed services.
Right.
And the military realized that it could not win any wars. A lot of people were going to get killed if they didn't fix the racial problems that they were experiencing. So, and each service went about it differently, but I can speak for what the Marine Corps did.
Okay.
The Marine Corps took a look and said, "Hey, we don't have enough black officers. We have significant numbers of black troops who don't have officers. We have privates, PFCs, lance corporals, sergeants, but we don't have officers." So the Marine Corps said, the way that we're going to fix it is we're going to increase the number of black officers. And that's exactly what they did. That's why places like Annapolis are so significant. ROTC units at Prairie View A&M, um, uh, North Carolina Central University, a number of HBCUs,
Right. I was going to say HBCUs.
Savannah State University, where they stood up uh, NROTC units, that is Navy Reserve Officer Training Corps, that is training students to become officers to go to serve in the military. And I was in that. Well, I was in that first group. All right, and came into the military by 1975 after school, and it was amazing, Mr. Janice, that in my artillery units we had significant numbers of black troops, and I was the brand new second lieutenant. But we also had mid-level black staff NCOs, who were
Mm-hmm.
honorary sergeants and master sergeants who really controlled things. But what the Marine Corps did was they said, we're just going to continue to ensure that we have black officers in the units to help the rank and file feel that they're represented and that things are fair for them, and they can have equal justice, they can get promoted, and they can serve with honor like everyone else. Here's what Dunn says. All right, I believe that education is still a significant key in fixing things on the ground. All right, perhaps there's a way in Louisville there can be an education initiative which studies the history of the segregation and integration in Louisville. What I think you'll find is we'll get a lot of lessons learned from some of those first civil rights activists.
Right.
Did a lot of things in the schools like Lyman T. Johnson. All
Right.
right. I
Right.
mean, I'm not the Louisville historian, but I would believe that if we study the lives of those individuals, they will have lessons learned on how to deal with some of these situations because these are not brand new situations. What
No,
we
not at
realize in
all.
the military is that things that are happening now also happened back in 1942, 1943. How did those first NCOs like your stepfather, how did they deal with these things?
Right.
They can give us some lessons. And then see, and I have to stay in my lane. All right, I'm
Okay.
staying in education and history. I can't step outside into the political realm
Right.
because I don't know Louisville that well. But I can tell you that I keep track, and Keith and I talk just about every day at 5 o'clock about what's happening on the ground, and that's what I would offer from my perspective: a study of the history, using education much more than you do now to lead both sides to
Right.
a common understanding on where they have to go next.
Really, because you've got a point. You make a valid point there that whatever we were going through from, I guess you would say, you said 42
Mm-hmm.
up through and to busing.
Yeah,
Okay, because some people only remember busing.
yeah,
Some people only remember maybe uh, the civil rights movement. I remember marching out um, in Iroquois area for open housing.
yeah,
Because when we started to move, like you all moved to 23rd and Oak,
right.
and my family we moved down on Cecil Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a big jump. We made a stopover in Portland, but it was only for a minute. And then we moved to 23rd and 22nd and Chestnut in
Okay.
that big greenhouse that's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I went to St. Salisbury.
Mm-hmm.
It's a school that's now a senior citizens home, which they made most of the older elementary schools senior citizens homes. Um, and then on down to Cecil Avenue. So you're right, Ken, that it would be important because I think everybody saw something different
Yeah,
and everybody remembers it differently. Their perception that um, right before busing, because then now I'm not a part of busing, I was able to walk to my high school.
right.
And all those students that live within 1-2 miles of Shawnee High School, none of them go to that school.
Mm-hmm.
which is now the school system is getting ready to maybe try to have this open enrollment for next year where they can choose to go to a school in their neighborhoods,
Yes, ma'am. That makes a lot of sense.
and I think they need to go to the schools in their neighborhoods. There's a lot of socialization, and I think some of the disconnect that our youth are having, maybe because that's causing some of the violence
Yeah.
that's here in the city, is because they don't have the same kinds of connections that we had with our peers, as far as simple as just going to school,
Yeah.
walking home from school, walking to school. You meet up at a certain corner and you wait for them till they get there. You know what I'm saying? We had, and uh, then it was more of a camaraderie
Mhm.
because you go to the same school.
Schools, the education piece is very, very significant. Janice, as you're saying, I mean,
Hmm.
we all, when we think about growing up, we think about, St. Augustine, we think about Shawnee High
Yeah,
School, I think about Valley High School, I think about Fort Knox High School, I think about St. Benedict. These were all those schools were the centers of our universe.
right.
So, and that's where all of our friends were. That's where we felt uh, we felt at home. All right.
Hmm.
That's why I sort of I continue to say that the education piece can help a great deal because you can discuss things in an education environment that you cannot discuss in
In
a
a
civic
social
environment. You can't. That's right.
or a social environment.
That's right. You can't. So
Everybody can't handle it.
that's right. However, if you structure something where you're bringing groups together and there's an agreed upon professor or a teacher who's going
Hmm.
to lead things through, and people understand what the objectives are, what they're going to try to do, and I think you can do that because in an education environment, people will be able to express themselves more freely. I think than any other kind of environment. And
Right.
Dunn says, hey, just take advantage of what we have already in place. There are teachers already out there. There are schools already out there. These could be natural meeting places to do some of these things.
Right.
There are a lot of people who've written books who can help guide. Bring the clergy in.
Yeah.
There's some,
We need a true round table.
yes, ma'am. And the thing about it is, do it in an education environment. All right. So
Okay.
the effort is to study it and to come to solutions or
Right.
recommendations. You
Right.
can't fix it necessarily in the education environment, but you can make recommendations to fix it. You see,
Right. Right.
that's why I'm not saying that the education piece is the end all to be all, but it is a
It
way.
plays a role.
It can. See, and I say to my students all the time as they tell me, "Hey, Dr. Dunn, we didn't know anything about Marfa Point. We didn't know we didn't know that things were so bad in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But we can see how it has an impact on what happens in the Marine Corps today.
Right. Right.
And so I'm very pleased to see the results of taking a bold step in implementing a course that talks about these things and doesn't and we don't have to skirt around any issues. The students can say it how they want
Right.
because it's an
Speak their
education
minds. Yeah.
environment. So that's what I say. I just know that we as a people have always put a lot into our education systems and teaching our children. This is just another extension where we can get education involved. We can get University of Louisville involved. We can get Simmons involved. We get
Right.
the University involved, and we can. And I'm not on the ground in Louisville, all right. But I love my home.
But you can come and speak to us.
Oh yes, ma'am. But I love.
Okay. You can come. Look, I know your phone number. Now, I
Keep
tell you about it. I know your phone number.
yes, ma'am. Keep.
Well, I want you to tell me this so I can say it correctly.
Okay.
Uh, do I say Dr. Colonel Dunn or Colonel Dr. Dunn? What's the correct way? Doctor first?
Well, here's what I would say. You can call me Kenny. All right.
I'm gonna call you Kenny, but I mean you have a title, and
Yeah.
I'm very proud of your title, and I'm sure you are.
Well, I My students call me Dr. Dunn and call me Dr. Dunn at work.
Okay.
So,
Dr. Dunn.
you know,
I like Dr. Dunn. That's kind of cool.
well,
I like calling you Colonel.
yes, ma'am. And I'm also a
Yeah.
colonel. So either one of them, they're almost interchangeable, except in the academic environment where students are military.
Okay.
It's not. I don't think it's good for them to have to call me colonel, but I think it's better for them to call me doctor.
Doctor. Okay. All
As
right. I feel
opposed
you.
to colonel. And
Well, I want to say, as your sister, as your neighbor, as your friend, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Because see, to me, you're the kind of person that has a voice, even though you're someplace else.
Mhm.
That you're the pride of Louisville
Well, I'm
to
proud
me.
of Louisville. Let me tell you that. I'm
Yeah,
awfully proud to be a native of Louisville, Kentucky. You
you
know,
are you are what they say. It's a little just like the nightclub. You are a Louisvillian, baby. But
yeah.
I want to say thank you so much. I thought Brother Rodney would be able to join us before you got off.
Well, he probably will.
Okay. But
Here's,
no, because I'm getting ready to go.
okay, here's the last thing I'm going to say.
Okay, wonderful. Sum
The
it up for me.
okay, here, I'm going to sum it up. All right. You know, guess who's coming to dinner? You're looking for solutions for our
Right.
hometown, and that's why I'm so proud of what you're doing. You know, when I got wind of it on LinkedIn, I said, I know Janice Carter Miller. You know, I know her, and I have been looking for a way to help my hometown.
Okay.
I watch Reverend Cosby every Sunday on YouTube. You know,
Okay.
out of St. Stephen's. You know, he's a civil activist as much
Hmm.
as anybody is. Uh, I have I've begun to reach out to him and say, listen, I'd like to come to Simmons. You know, I'm not sure what we would do, but I'd just like to get in one of your discussions sometimes. Because I am, like I said, I'm an educator and an historian. But here's what I think. All right, in my heart of hearts, Louisville is a wonderful, wonderful town. It really is. Uh, I love every aspect of growing up in Louisville. Beecher Terrace,
Yes.
the West End,
Yes.
Valley Station. You know,
Yeah.
it was. I don't have any horror stories to talk
No.
about my hometown.
We had wonderful
Yeah.
youth experiences growing up in this city.
And when I left Louisville in 1970 to go to the Naval Academy, I was surprised how self confident I was going into that environment. You know, we graduated 9 black students out of 850. All right, but
Wow.
it wasn't a big deal.
It wasn't a big deal.
It
Okay.
wasn't a big deal. 9 out of 850. Okay. Now, what I will say is this: if you want to know, all right, what it was like being a black serviceman, then read my book because it's a journal and it takes from 1992 to 1995, and I just talk about daily experiences. You know, I talk about my the only discrimination or bias I had was probably with my peers, other lieutenant colonels. Nothing from the seniors, nothing from the juniors, but my peers. You know, they seemed to give me the cold shoulder from time to time. And I said it in my book. A lot of times being a Marine officer is like being invited to supper, but you eat in the kitchen. Okay.
Uh, okay.
So that's what I said. And I said in my book, you know, I'm not making up anything.
Yeah.
But looking ahead, Miss Janice, if the city of Louisville would take a little bit more advantage of those people who have seen this before and give lessons learned like yourself, all
Right.
right? You know,
Right.
those of us who are approaching 70 years old, the baby boomers, we have something to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But the youngsters have a different way, as Keith said, it's a different landscape. But there may be lessons learned from our time that can help this time. And you can do that through education.
I think the word I just that came to mind when you said that the things that we can share with them
Yes, ma'am.
is a little bit of how to be more a little more use a little bit more finesse
Yes,
because see, we grew up with finesse.
absolutely.
We grew up with finesse. We grew up. We knew how to do problem solving. We had we were passed down some mother wit out of this world.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, I was able to go from Beecher Terrace, all right, to St. Agnes, which was all white students,
Hmm.
to St. Benedict was integrated, to Fort Knox, all right, to Valley, which had recently integrated, and I never had a problem.
Okay.
And going to the Naval Academy, and it speaks to what you said, finesse, thinking through what it is you need to do
Right.
to succeed in whatever that environment is. And those are the lessons that we can teach our youngsters.
Okay. I thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All my best to the family.
Okay.
I told your wife last time I saw. I said I know what y'all call me. See, I was this family's Whitney Houston. I said I ain't mad at y'all at all. Look, I love you. Take care of yourself. Be safe. And as this progresses, if there comes a time that I'm doing something that I think you could be a part of and instrumental in helping us to find some solutions,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to reach out to you.
All right. Now, and I hope that you get a chance to talk to Rodney because Rodney's very wise. He's much wiser than I am. And continue the conversation. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to
And
hit
then
Brother
eventually,
Rodney up.
and eventually maybe get Larry. So that'll be great.
Oh, well, Larry's a whole, he's a single conversation interview.
That's true.
He'd have to have that all to himself.
He's got that memory.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I want to say thank you for your service. We're proud of you, our native Louisvillian, and send me the information on where they can purchase the book,
Sure. Amazon.
and I'll put it on. I do Jantastic Productions on Facebook and YouTube,
Okay.
and I also have for those people that have a uh, Roku channel or
Right.
stick.
Right.
I have Jantastic Productions on there as well.
Mhm.
But I'll put it on my social media so people can see it and they can know where to go get the book.
Hey, listen.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. We all love America. We love our hometown, and I appreciate the things that you're doing for the great city of Louisville. So anything I can do to help, I'll be glad to do it.
I'll remember that. Take care of yourself, Ken.
All right.
All right, darling. Bye
All
bye.
right.
Wow. Dr. Dunn, Colonel Dunn, Beecher Terrace, pride of the city. This has been a full Veterans Day conversation with two of the four Dunn brothers. I was trying to see if Rodney was going to show up, and never didn't hear back from Larry, but that's all right. I'll catch up with him. I just want to say to Louisville and all our veterans um, in the city of Louisville and all our veterans all over the country, thank you for your service. I want to make a personal acknowledgement. I did one earlier today to one of my family members that is who was also a vet, who is also a vet, and that would be John Monroe and Sonny Monroe. Oh, and Jimmy Carradine. Lord, I keep going. These are some of my relatives that are military, but all the military in the city. Um, we thank you for your service, and I won't be here this Friday because I told you I have things to do. It's my wedding anniversary, and we're going to celebrate. So from that point on, all I can say is bon appetit. Guess who's coming to dinner?